Hi, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Press X the Podcast. It's the podcast from your friends at Cog Connected. My name's Paul. I'm the host of this here show. Alongside me, as always, I got my best two buddies. It's Rhett and James. How you doing, guys?
So good.
Excellent. And that was an enthusiastic introduction, I must say. Thank you very much.
Oh. Well, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for showing up every 2 weeks on this Monday night to record this thing.
Hell yeah. Bring the noise, bring the funk.
I can find an hour.
A spare hour here and there. Bring in the noise, bring in the funk, but I gotta say, guys, you did not bring the games this week. What's up? This is a video game podcast. We gotta talk about games.
Okay. It's a little bit of a down week, and so I've been taking advantage of this let up in the schedule to play some shit that I've already played because I'm just nostalgia like that. Just an old softie, just looking for some chestnuts to fucking shine up and show to the world, like little thing called
I was gonna say, explain it to me like it's a weather report.
Okay, well, there was a big storm front of The Witcher 3 came in super hard over the previous week. Had that coming down basically every day with all my free time, followed by some Stardew Valley in the late evenings and a little Pokemon Sword over a couple of heavy spots over the weekend. And that was about the video games weather forecast from me.
Well, thank you very much, James. And for sports, let's turn to Rhett.
Yeah, if you want to dedicate a part of the show every week to talking about how fucked Red Dead Online is, I'd be happy to oblige. I'll tell you what, I get in there and I don't know what to do. I'm fucking around. Nothing's working out there. Nothing's spawning. I can't do shit. I don't know what to do with that fucking game.
You could stop.
Man, my daily streak now, I hit 138 today, I believe. I can't stop. I need that thing to be taken away from me.
Yeah, 138 days?
138 days of, eating baked beans in a row. Doing stuff like that.
Tell you what, Rhett, what I'll do is I'll come find your house. I'll break in, and I'll take the goddamn game. What do you say? And then you'll be free from this curse. Huh?
Man, it's a digital copy. I wish you could, man. I wish you could.
Oh, we'll work something out.
Yeah.
Just a little flathead screwdriver action. That'll sort things out.
Yeah. I'll carve no more Red Dead into the hard drive.
Other than that, a little bit of Pokemon as well. Shield. It's great. Hop sucks.
Boy.
Hey, Hop is just doing his best, all right?
No. Every time I play that game, man, honestly, I don't know what to think about Hop.
I gotta say, that game is, the way it's written, just drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, truly.
Everyone is so happy and thrilled when you kick the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Why? It makes no sense.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to Hop. Like, he doesn't seem to realize that he was just fucking annihilated. Like, he wasn't even able to get an attack off. And it's like, "Oh, mate, what a battle that was."
Well, here's the deal, guys.
What accent
fucking
was
A,
that?
mate. Fuck.
The dialogue is written like it's a close call, because it's a game with broad appeal. So the kids, this is their first Pokemon game, and they clench it out. You know, they're like, "Oh man, I won! What a stinger that was." Meanwhile, us grown ass adults roll in there and annihilate these fucking clowns, and it's just like, "Oh, that was a close match. Really put it all on the line." I'm like, dude, I was not paying attention. I was eating a sandwich and
yeah, exactly. I was
ending
finishing,
your life.
I was finishing Watchmen, not paying attention.
And Hop,
But yeah.
every time you hit him with some super effective attack, he's like, "Oh, super effective. I should have known from the likes of you with a gigantic wink.
Yeah, like, what are you saying, Hop?
Get out of here, Hop. You're
Yeah,
going to amount
honestly,
to nothing.
go home with that bullshit.
Even the battle tower at the end of the game, I haven't been messing around with it too much. I think I'm up to rank 9, and it's pretty tough. Like, a battle tower rules where you can't switch and there's no items, and your Pokemon are like scaled down to level 50 automatically. Everybody's are 50. The problem is only certain trainers use Dynamaxing. So if you just fight a regular dude, you can bring the fucking pain with a tower-sized Pokemon and just clean their clocks.
Yeah, one-shot everything.
That's my absolute wheelhouse with Pokemon games, is just getting so overpowered or having the absolute perfect type combinations to crush dudes with one shot.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. Battle Tower does bring some challenge. I did lose a few times because you meet the champion there once in a while. Like, he shows up for one of the earlier battles, and he fucking crushed me a couple of times because, like I said, the levels are all evened out, so it's just your skills. So if you like don't bring the right guys, trouble is his shit is the same every time you fight him. So you fight him once, find out what he's got, and you just come back with 3 more Pokemon specifically tailored to kick his ass, or a legendary, because the battle tower doesn't give a shit if you use legendaries. So there's that like poison dragon or whatever you can get at one point, who he's no pushover, I'll say that much.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare for me because I'll be honest, man. Ever since I started playing these games, I have been an attack-only player. Stat change moves do not exist in my game, so this tower most likely I'll be avoiding.
Yeah, it's pretty fun though, and I mean,
but I mean, what Pokemon game can you not just beat somebody in type and overpower them?
Yeah, that's all of them.
Right?
Oh yeah,
even if we're both level 50.
Until you start playing other human beings online, and then friend, that shit don't work no more.
No, it sure doesn't. But if you're playing as a casual and your Gyarados is like, hey, Gyarados wants to learn Hydro Pump. Do you want to forget Growl? You're like, fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah. Screech? Truly. That's gone.
Get out of here.
Human beings? No, I'm not going to be playing them, man. People take this shit seriously.
Yeah, all you need to do is give your guy one of those moves that does tons of damage and hurts you as well, and then make sure your Pokemon is holding an item that recovers a tiny bit of health every turn.
Leftovers.
And, like leftovers. Give them leftovers and their strongest move, and it'll take like a quarter of the health off, and then a little bit comes back. And you can just do that over and over again.
I will say one of my greatest joys in this game is joining random Dynamax raid things and using the absolute wrong Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. Being completely useless.
Yeah. Just send in a Magikarp with nothing but Splash.
Perfect, yeah.
If there was the ability to communicate with other players in that, I can guarantee I'd be getting death threats because it's too funny.
Yeah, naturally.
They usually squeak out a win in the end anyway, and I just catch the Pokemon and...
For sure, and you're not going to put Magikarp out in that situation, I would figure. And
I especially love when somebody passes up the option to Dynamax, and then I can Dynamax my Magikarp.
Oh my god.
Okay, but the Dynamax Splash actually becomes a real attack, doesn't it?
Yeah, you just don't do anything in those cases. You use like a potion or something.
Oh. No,
you can't even use items in Dynamax raids.
Yeah, but the Splash, like,
yeah, you can.
It becomes a real
attack. My game
attack,
has that.
Maybe I'm misremembering how that format works.
Yeah, you got the bag. You can't switch Pokemon.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rhett, you were saying something.
Doesn't the Splash, like when you Dynamax Magikarp Splash, doesn't it become an actual attack that you can do damage with?
Yeah. So we don't want that.
No. You want
Not
Magikarp going against who's he weak against? water on water's not very good, isn't it?
You want him to fight a grass Pokemon. That's what
Right.
you want. You want him to
Okay.
fight a grass Pokemon or an electric.
That's when you want death threats.
Yeah, that's when you're
Right.
getting them. They're like,
Right.
why? Because you know what kind of Pokemon is going to be going in.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
you do.
So you just make sure to choose the most inappropriate Pokemon possible. Just really ramp up that pain and suffering.
Yeah, I mean, I just like imagining what people are saying when they see that I have joined their game. They've already pushed confirm I'm ready to battle, and then I slap in Magikarp. What is this clown up to?
Yeah. There's always one stupid asshole that has to come in here with a fucking Magikarp splashing around.
Yeah,
I've
good
seen it.
times.
I've definitely seen it.
It might have been me, to be honest with
Mhm.
you. Yeah, Pokemon's pretty good. I mean, it's not very good in a lot of ways, but it's very enjoyable if you're watching Netflix or doing whatever.
Yeah.
I played some games this week.
Okay, great.
I played through the entirety of Kentucky Route Zero.
Oh, rad.
Is
Which?
there a lot of fried chicken in this game?
No.
What?
No fried chicken. So, this game is not quite what I expected it to be. I'm not really sure what I thought it was going to be, but it's an adventure game of sorts, kind of like a point and click sort of thing, but it gets rid of everything that you do in a point and click game. There's no matching the item to the right, recipient to progress the story. This is more just something to be experienced and lived as you go through the motions. The thing is, it is absolutely brilliantly written and structured. It is super, super good. Definitely the best one of these I've played.
I'll have to put that on my short list.
Yeah, I had not heard about this game until you reviewed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an episodic thing. The first act came out over 7 years ago.
Oh.
And they've been kind of dripping it out since then.
Okay.
The fourth act came out 3 or 4 years ago. So people have really been waiting for this last act.
Right.
So there's huge possibility that this thing wouldn't live up to the billing, or it wouldn't end the story well. I thought it did a great job. Myself, I won't spoil anything. But it's kind of got this vibe where everything sort of feels like a dream, or everything is not quite what it seems, or there's some greater meaning to be had.
Oh, rad.
So it has a really, really interesting tone, and some of the character work is super, super good.
Now, has it been the same team working on it the entire time?
Yep, it's 3 dudes.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. So really interested to see what they're going to do next, or if this company is going to get snapped up by somebody. Yeah. Reviews on the site, but I won't try to say too much about it because it's better to know a little less, I think.
Yeah. It's cool that they got the same 3 guys working on the game the entire time, because I think about like The Walking Dead, the Telltale games. By the end of the series, there were different writers writing the episodes, and you could really tell. It was a different style than the first season was. So, no, it's cool that they got the same guys working on the game all throughout.
I think that's actually one of the most interesting things about this game is, though it is the same 3 writers and it's clearly the same game as you're playing through the different acts, each one is so much its own thing. They've got very different tones and very different styles. A lot of it is they're kind of using this game as a sandbox for them to play with different art styles and play with different ideas. So much so that in between each one of the acts is this little palate cleanser interlude, and those are beyond bizarre. Like, one of them is some people walking around a modern art exhibit. The other one is just literally an old style telephone in the middle of the desk where you dial numbers and like listen to this recorded messaging.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's super weird, but incredibly charming. A lot of it is really, really funny or surprising. I would definitely recommend picking it up because it's not very expensive. And it's only going to cost you like 10 hours of your time to go through the whole darn thing.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is fucking awesome.
Is this a PC thing? Strictly
PC, Switch, X1, and PS4.
There it is. If the whole thing's on Switch, then I'll play it.
Yeah, I did play it on Switch. The one thing I would say is that in the last act, it does get a little bit hitchy.
Of course.
A little bit choppy because, you got to know it's a Switch eventually.
Naturally, yeah.
It's not too bad.
Fuck. It's good to know, though.
Yeah, would definitely recommend that. And the other thing I've been playing is that Walking Dead Saints and Sinners VR game.
I've heard mixed things. More so leaning towards it's actually good.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Haven't finished it yet, but it's doing some storytelling things that I haven't seen approached quite this way in VR. There's a little bit more of a focus on the narrative and making it feel like you're in a big open space. A lot of the time, VR is really siloed and you're doing this very specific thing for a very specific amount of time. This makes it feel like the world is a lot more open than it actually is. I've run into invisible walls here and there, but you don't necessarily go there because it does a nice job of funneling towards what you should be looking for. I think the writing is okay, but the visceral experience of stabbing a knife into an oncoming zombie's head, yeah, it's on par with the best VR experiences I've ever had.
Nice. Oh, satisfying. Do you like feel that crunch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of got to shake the knife to get the zombie off of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
cool. Savage. And when you get swarmed, it's pretty scary. So we'll see where that ends up. I don't know if it's going to actually go someplace or if it's just going to be a collection of little missions, but yeah, it's not bad.
That's another one. That is like Oculus 5. Like what's that out on? It's not out on the PSVR, is it?
I believe it's coming to PSVR, but it hasn't yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been playing it on a Rift S.
Cool. Rift, yeah.
And yeah, that's about it for games. Anything you guys are looking forward to that we haven't talked about before? Like, I mean, I feel like we've talked about Dreams for the last 3 podcasts.
Did we talk about Animal Crossing at all?
We did.
I'm getting more interested and curious about that game. Like, it's weird. It's one of those franchises that's kind of missed me, even though everything about it feels custom made for my gaming tastes.
Yeah.
Like, it's a slow, measured pace kind of experience where you just like do day-to-day tasks and engage and interact with cute townspeople and like
100%.
Where you can like customize your own living space and just sort of like interact with and learn more about these weird little creatures. And it just seems like it would be absolutely fucking perfect for me. But yet somehow, against all odds, I've hardly played any entry in the franchise ever in my life.
Well, that'll change next month, yeah?
It's looking somewhat likely at this point, just because like
they're good games. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you won't be disappointed with it.
Yeah.
You'll be driven purely by your hate for Tom Nook at some point.
Exactly. And other townsfolk, I found more so in the last one, townsfolk were pissing me off more than doing anything that I actually liked.
So,
but that's not to say that the game was bad.
Yeah.
I'm just tough to please.
So who was really getting your goat in town? Like who would push your buttons?
Oh man, there was all kinds of stupid names that they have. It's I'd have to go back because my town is a barren wasteland. I think we were talking last time about how it will most likely be, like nothing but crack shacks and dealers on the streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoes on the telephone. Yeah, that's probably my sound right now, to be honest. I haven't been there in years.
Does it actually empty out if you don't?
No, but when you go back, everybody's like, dude, where the fuck have you been? We've been suffering.
Yeah. None of us know how to do anything.
There's shit everywhere. The leaves haven't been raked.
Nobody's been catching the crickets.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The museum is in shambles.
It's sheer anarchy.
Apparently the clothes that the animals wear are like actual clothes for the first time and not just textures like loosely applied to their fucking bodies or whatever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so like people with wool have that, like the sweaters like tightly stretched over top of it and they sort of puff out from the sleeves and whatnot, and like it all looks very tactile and very like genuine, which I every time I see Animal Crossing news, it's one half, here's a new thing about Animal Crossing, and the other half is here's how crazy fans are going over this tiny sliver of information they've been fed like 30 starving crocodiles in a fucking moat. It never ceases to amaze me how passionate these people are about every element of this franchise.
Okay, wait a minute. If the clothes can be changed now, does that mean that someone's going to hack this game and make a nude mod?
For animals?
Oh, fuck, you know those people are out there. Come on.
Or like the villagers where they like see their weird distended little bodies?
Yeah, that'd be super weird.
I've talked about this on the podcast before. We'll get back to you, Rhett. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but certain character models, they're not meant to be naked. People have tried, and the results are deeply unsettling.
Yeah.
Longtime listeners will remember that I have previously brought up the Street Fighter 4 cast. And somebody went out there and they put in the work and they made these people naked. It was a mistake. Okay. The proportions of the bodies are all just distended and awful and wrong. Like everybody's got too much leg or huge hands or like, it's just like, you don't want it. Definitely look it up, but you don't want it.
Oh, I'm looking it up. Not right now. I'll look it up later. That'd really derail this podcast even further than we've already gone now. Rhett, I need you to tell me more about this nude mod you're making for Animal Crossing.
Me, I'm making this now. Well,
Yeah.
it's really going to explore the removal of clothing in Animal Crossing. So first we're going to explore the removal of upper clothing garments, and then eventually that will lead into the lower half of outfits. And hopefully by spring of next year, we are going to be removing the undergarments of these animals.
Well, it's good that you have a schedule.
So yeah, that was gonna follow along on my Twitter at Rhett Cog Connect. I'll be posting updates frequently enough, and yeah, you can stay up to date with this mod that'll be coming out. Animal Crossing 2021.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
for
heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, thanks for plugging your Twitter. I was going to ask what your DeviantArt URL is so people can follow your work. Work in heavy air quotes.
Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't have one. That's fine. Just follow the Twitter, follow the money, and we'll see what happens with Animal Crossing next month.
Yeah, 2 weeks, Rhett. You better have yourself a goddamn DeviantArt account, all right? We want to see we want to see the receipts, okay?
Honestly, man, it might be too much for this pod. That's the problem, is that
Right.
the account might just be too much for what this
too hot for
podcast is
TV.
trying to do. Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, patreon.com/Animal Crossing Nude Mod. Go there.
Are we 18A? I mean, I guess we are now.
I mean, I check explicit every time I upload a podcast.
Right.
So
Yeah, I make all the fuck sounds basically every episode, so I assume that we're of an adult nature.
That's true. Speaking of fuck, little sidebar. I watched Uncut Gems last night, Adam Sandler. That movie has the 4th most fucks in movie history.
Is this trivia you looked up afterwards just because
Yeah.
you were pretty sure it was true?
No. Whenever I enjoy a movie, I like to look up on IMDb. They always have little trivia about movies, and that was the first one that popped up.
Wow.
that's got to be a lot of F-bombs because...
It was over 400.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like 4 a minute.
Yeah, it was pretty long, actually. It was just like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like
That's still like 3 a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you recommend? It's pretty good.
I would recommend, yes. I would recommend. It's always cool to see Adam Sandler do something like that, you know? He doesn't do it often, but when he gets serious, he's good. He is a really fine actor.
You mean do a thing like that and not suck?
Not suck. Yeah, he's had some
Listen,
stankers.
Adam Sandler, he's done some of the worst work in the world.
He's had a couple of stankers, okay? Everybody does them.
What's that one where he played himself and his twin sister?
Jack and Jill.
Okay.
Do not tell me that's a good
I
film.
never saw that one because, yeah, I assumed that was going to be one of the stankers.
Pixels?
Pixels never saw it either. Yeah. Never saw it either. But I heard really, really awful things about that.
Probably one of the lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores of any mainstream film ever released.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Was that one of the Netflix ones? Or was that like a theatrical?
No, they got a theater release.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What are you doing with that one? Was that his company? Was that Happy Madison?
I don't know.
Fuck,
You officially follow more of his career than I do. Speaking of money, let's talk about some news.
Let's do it. Because go ahead.
Just apparently somebody spent $40,000 on a ship in EVE Online, which, for people not familiar with the game, A, how have you managed this feat up to this point? B, you can spend an unprecedented, incredible, inconceivable amount of money in the game. Although I think it's kind of a cheat bit of reporting, because you can sort of work in a way that translates into monetary value. Like, it's basically a second job. And so depending on the amount of hours or credits or currency pumped into a particular project or an object, you can kind of get a pretty accurate calculation for how much a given item or ship is worth. But
yeah. The other thing is that this guy, Scott Manley, is quite a large YouTuber. He's got like 1 million subscribers.
Oh, okay.
And he is a literal rocket scientist.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's done all kinds of really, really cool Kerbal Space Program videos where, he'll try to land on the moon with some ridiculously little amount of fuel or some stupidly large ship, or be like, how big a rocket can I build? How fast can I make it go towards the speed of light? Things like that. Very cool videos. He's a very interesting guy. But it sounds like all this money that's spent on the ship was in-game cash that he didn't actually spend money on.
Oh.
Yeah. Clickbait.
Seriously, man, womp womp. Like, Scott Manley, you sound cool, but man, this story, $40K in-game cash.
It seems like a cheap cop-out, but one has to understand that $40K in EVE Online is pretty small fucking potatoes. There's been space battles in the past that you can read up about where like 10 or 15 times that amount was lost when a single cruiser class ship or fleet of ships was destroyed in a crazy battle. Like, when different factions and guilds go to war, they can calculate the cost. Because if 1,000 people put in a little bit of currency, money, time, whatever, then you can pretty quickly create these like $250,000 vessels or like fleets, and then you drag that shit into battle. So after like a couple of months of work, a guild and another guild can go to war, and the results can be like catastrophically expensive. But
Yeah.
Nobody's like losing their house over it, which is good.
Yeah. EVE Online, I've always thought that it was like the most intriguing game that I was not willing to play. It just seems like too much for me, and it seems like I'm too far gone from it now. There've been people that have been playing it for how long has this been out? A long time now.
It's
right?
like 15 or 20 years, isn't it?
Yeah, right. So I just feel like I'm, too late to the party. But always, every time I hear about this game, I'm just like, damn, this actually sounds really, really cool.
It sounds like a job even more than other MMOs sound like a job.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Eve especially is less like a game and more like a spreadsheet with a graphics interface. Like it's thinking about trade routes and commodity prices and, things like that people do for actual money, but people do it for fun, which is really cool in a way.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
I mean, if you'd rather do a job than a game, then all the power to you. Get after it.
Fucking Job Simulator was pretty good.
Yes, Rhett, yes it was. So the latest Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer was the first time I felt really genuinely psyched about this game coming out, and also it was the first time I felt excited about the prospect of the game being split up into chunks, because it looks like they're going to really make a meal out of this story in the best possible way. Like, now to me, the latest trailer makes it feel like instead of it just being padding, it's like, hey, all the best cheesy parts about anime style video game storytelling? Well, this game's got it in fucking spades. So strap in. And I'm all for that. I'm on board.
This trailer was amazing. I loved it. And I especially loved how they're dropping the nuggets about the pieces of story that they're adding to Midgar. The new characters and some of the new situations that it seems like you're going to find yourself in to pad this, this giant city out to be a full game, which, obviously it should be, being that it's a gigantic city. I couldn't be more excited. It's got the most cheesy anime line delivery of all time, and it looks outstanding.
Yeah, the sequence where Cloud is all dolled up to go to Don Corneo's hotel or mansion or whatever is just so incredibly extra on every level, and I'm totally here for it.
Absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but a little piece of that trailer did kind of address some of the gender things that we were thinking might be a problem in this game.
It still seems like it could be kind of up in the air. I think some people inevitably, some people are always going to feel like a thing wasn't handled as well as it could have been. I think so far it looks like it could be handled well, or it might approach it with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. It's really hard to say, but it honestly seems, if they follow the original story and handle it with even the tiniest amount of modern nuance, just the tiniest little barest touches, they should be fine. Because it's all done very consensually, and any jabs at people's masculinity are addressed in such a fashion that makes such concerns feel silly and unwarranted.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of agency put into the hands of the female characters. Cloud's motivation in that scene is problematic, I'll admit freely. The idea that he can't let these people go do this mission because the guy's got to be there, and it's just no, actually not really. the one they're sending in is the one most capable of unarmed combat out of the entire party. I feel like probably she'll be okay. But like, I mean, aside from that lingering issue with like the story structure, it looks like they're handling it pretty well so far. I don't know.
Yeah, there was one line in the trailer where, I don't know, some character I didn't recognize is like dancing around with Cloud, and he says something like, yeah, whatever, man, woman, whatever, you're beautiful. And I was like, okay,
beauty. Something about
nice
beauty not
sentiment.
being tied to gender in any fashion. And
Yeah, there you go.
Such notions are like barbaric and out of touch.
If they do more besides that, just that one line to kind of flesh that out and make it feel real, I think that's a great approach.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched. That's all I gotta say. I'm pretty here for this game, you know?
Yep. Slap it right into my veins. Cook it up on a spoon, baby.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just a big 30cc shot of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
You know, I listened to a podcast this week that was at least a 30cc shot of Reggie Fils-Aimé, formerly COO of Nintendo America, who was on this like kind of grad student business podcast talking about how he ran Nintendo and how he previously did shit at Pizza Hut, which is amazing. It's a great podcast.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting story. Was that the same podcast where they like talked about him putting his foot down about updates to the logo?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, because like apparently Nintendo didn't like that they were perceived as being for kids, and they were going to update that, you know, Nintendo oval logo to basically have graffiti writing in the middle. And Reggie was like, fuck no, we ain't doing that. This is what we're about. Let's be proud of that. Let's lean into it and crush it. And they did. So good on you, Reggie.
Yeah, it's a good move because like nothing else about the company and the brand suggests that they're trying to appeal to an older audience. And so doing that would have felt like a token gesture at best.
Yeah, no doubt. And interesting that a guy like Reggie, who like describes himself as being forceful and disruptive and very opinionated, was so passionate about Nintendo being for kids and for everyone in a very everybody can play kind of way. That's I'm not sure if that's just a business tactic, but listening to him on this podcast, it didn't seem like it. It seemed like he was really into that.
Well, it's a prescient move either way. It's very impressive that his passionate interests, so to speak, managed to so neatly align with Nintendo's own long-term success in the market. It's fascinating stuff.
And he's a really cool guy, by the way. He's the guy you see on stage is exactly who he is if you talk to him. So,
nice.
If he hadn't said it on stage, you could see yourself sidling up to the Nintendo booth at E3s of years past to play Wii Fit with Reggie and him saying, "My body is ready." I could see it.
Yes, absolutely.
In other Nintendo news that's less cool, you can store your Pokemon in the cloud and pay for it with Pokemon Home.
Yeah, that's a money pit. That's a trap.
Yeah, the subscription service doesn't make a ton of sense.
Because you're pretty limited in what you can transfer to and from, right?
Yeah.
Very limited. Hold on, they released the chart for it.
It's basically just the Sword and Shield Pokedex. Like, you don't need to consult the fucking stars on this one. here's the important thing. It seems like they are going to start slowly expanding that Pokédex with DLC.
Yes.
The set of 2 coming out later this year, one in the summer, one in the winter. I think depending on the success of those expansions will determine how many more Pokemon we see added to the Galar Dex. Because I think they're going to add, I don't know, at least a couple hundred more. Which is fine, but it sort of seems like they're banking on people paying for the yearly subscription just to, hold their Pokemon in a fucking landing pattern until they can actually arrive in a real-ass video game. The only upside to the new home banking system is that you can do trades with people through your phone, which is pretty rad, but also they're tying the GTS to this system, which is a supremely dick move because the base trading system as it exists in Sword and Shield is kind of shitty. And
yes,
it's kind of infuriating that they're just going to oh, remember how it used to be so good to trade online for free? Now it costs you fucking $16-20 a year to do that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's garbage. That is garbage.
So, I mean, I'm not going to grab it either way because I'm out of that completionist get every Pokemon game. That's for a younger man with more time in their hands. But even if I was invested in that effort, I don't know if I'd put my money down for this. Actually, if I was invested in getting every Pokemon, I would definitely put my money down for this. But the point is, I'm not that man anymore.
Well, it sounds like that's not the only Nintendo thing you can put down some microtransaction type cash for.
Okay.
And
what else?
I don't know who wrote this line in the news section.
Yeah, no, it's looking like Nintendo are creating this Fire Emblem monthly pass.
Oh, for Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So there's going to be some sort of monthly paid pass, subscription type service. They've really been getting into this with other types of games too. And I mean, I've seen much more DLC out of them on the Switch than any other system, right? So I feel like they're finally starting to get in line with a lot of these other companies, a lot of these other developers that have gone the sort of route.
I mean, I'm okay with it as long as the monthly pass actually gets you something of value.
Definitely.
I think
yeah.
Fire Emblem Heroes in particular has been pretty good about dripping out things that people are going to want for free. I logged into that game just before Three Houses came out, and there was a bunch of 5-star draws just sitting there waiting for me. I hadn't played it in months. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with a monthly pass that you can't already get for free unless they're going to dial back the free stuff.
Yeah, they're talking about pay-to-win benefits. Subscribers will gain access to special quests to earn valuable currency twice a month. Seems like there'll be other advantages in-game, like forming stat-boosting bonds. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, all right.
Basically, pay to win.
Sounds like predatory bullshit, but I don't know.
100%. No, spend money and you'll be better at the game.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait to spend money in a game.
Yeah.
So yeah, in weeks past, we've kind of exhausted the list of near future upcoming video games, but we've had some success in predicting what companies are going to be doing or rewriting things that companies have written in better ways because we are smarter than they are.
It's true.
So since we're geniuses, I thought it might be fun to kind of pre-write a few games that are definitely maybe going to be coming out someday.
Okay, I'm game.
So, what do you guys think about Nintendo making a Dark Souls game?
Okay, so first off, credit for this idea, or the seeds of it, goes to Polygon, who put up a humorous bullshit video a few days ago about Nintendo being 10 years behind the rest of the gaming industry and how this is a good thing and how they're going to do all this crazy shit now that it's 10 years later. But I think Nintendo making a Dark Souls game is an idea that has legs, and I feel like it's worth exploring a little bit more than they did in that original video. Because Nintendo games used to be about being really goddamned hard once upon a time in the halls of yore. And I think perhaps they can return to those halcyon days once again. Although I don't know which franchise would get the Dark Souls treatment, or if they would just make their own Dark Souls game, just like a fresh IP spun from whole cloth.
If this wasn't done in the Mushroom Kingdom, I wouldn't want to see it. You could have Mario as as a Dark Souls like character,
A straight up murderer,
Toad,
just like hacking Goombas clean in half.
As if he hasn't been curb stomping Goombas for 30 years. He'll be fine.
Yeah, the trouble is that Mario enemies tend to have like a hitbox that's actually just two halves of a shape.
Right.
Where one half is the one you do touch and the other half is the one you don't.
That's true.
The Legend of Zelda, for example, is a franchise that lends itself to it. And one could even argue that Breath of the Wild itself has already been influenced by that style of combat, where it's all a lot of like dodge rolls and blocks and like careful strategy when fighting things like the Lionels and the boss battles and shit like that. But I think they could
it's the obvious choice.
I think they could push a little further. I also think that Metroid, because that game is coming out at an unspecified time in the future, Metroid Prime 4 could be the perfect candidate for getting that Soulsborne treatment. I think Metroid players would love that shit.
That would be cool.
I mean, if you think back to some of the older Metroid games, not so much the Prime trilogy, but some of the older ones, they're not easy.
No.
They're pretty challenging. So, do you think they would go the direction of enemy hits being more devastating, or like the punishment for dying becomes greater?
I think it would have to be punishment for dying, because you could pretty easily rework the system where Samus, for example, is using a set of armor that is powered by the fucking essence of the enemies that she slays, for example, which is then like absorbed into the armor. And then when you get to like a relay station, then you can use that essence to like lock in upgrades that like turn it into bigger, better, badder armor. And there'll be like a skill tree and shit where you can go in different directions. And it's already a large, persistent world that rewards careful exploration. And there are already games that don't require a ton in the way of like direct storytelling. So I think that the two franchises can meet in the middle with some pretty exceptional success, honestly.
A game that kind of did a similar sort of thing to what you're saying, a little different, was The Mummy Returns, which was a movie tie-in for that stupid Tom Cruise movie. But the game was actually pretty cool. It was a Metroid-style game. I think WayForward made it. And in this game, you were kind of a faceless mercenary, and you could get power-ups along the way, you know, grappling hook, machine gun, all that stuff. When you died, your corpse would be reanimated as an enemy, and you'd come back as some other faceless grunt. So if you want your gear back, you've got to go track down and kill that reanimated corpse that is packing all of your goods. So I could see a mechanic kind of like that happening where, you know, you die and, oh shit, the ice beam is stuck down in the pit next to this horrible beast, and if you want it back, you got to go get it.
That could work really well.
Yeah.
Doug Bowser, if you're listening, then, you know, jot this shit down. Well, you know, it could work out really well.
I like that. I mean, we got Final Fantasy on the brain. What about Final Fantasy 16? Because you know they're making it. And you know that it's probably yet another spin-off that was originated when they were making 13. For those who don't know, Final Fantasy 15 was originally Final Fantasy Versus 13.
How is that going to work?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, all my thoughts are pretty half-baked. Nothing super concrete. What do you got, Paul?
I mean, I have a radical idea, and that is that they should take it back a notch. They're putting all this high-end production value and whatnot into the 7 remake. I think they should focus their high-end art talent and, you know, technical wizardry on that series to make sure that that follows through and that is great from top to bottom. And 16 should be a real return to the past. Kind of like they did with Final Fantasy IX, where that had a lot of the themes from the older NES games and Super Nintendo games. I think that 16 should be a much simpler experience. Go the route of something like an Octopath Traveler that had super deep battle mechanics and a great story, but didn't require the same technical level to make this really fleshed out experience. I think that's what was missing from 15 is they had this huge world that was gorgeous and it was fun to run around, but there was really nothing to do there. So take down the amount of art, the amount of assets that you need, and, you know, make it a little simpler in style, still stylish, but simpler. You've got a recipe for a great game that people are going to love and is going to bring people who have loved the franchise in the past back into the fold.
I like the idea, though I worry that they've had this thought amongst their developers before, and every time they do, they just end up cooking up another offshoot team. Like, I feel like the guys that brought us Octopath Traveler came from that specific impulse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason that game exists is because somebody's like, the next Final Fantasy should be less crazy and complicated and 7 years development. And they were like, okay, cool. Here's 100 guys, go make Octopath. And there's all these weird little offshoot games that, like, every time somebody has that idea in one form or another, they give them a fucking team. Like, Tokyo RPG Factory is basically every time somebody gets the impulse to make an old school Squaresoft game or Square Enix game, they get shuffled off to this place. The trouble is, a lot of Tokyo RPG Factory's games suck. They're like lifeless and flat and incredibly boring and aesthetically pleasing, but like literally nothing else going for them. So I think what they have to do is, instead of kicking these people off to a side project, when they have this idea for a retro styled fucking Square Enix RPG, like a Final Fantasy type, they should just bite the bullet and make a Final Fantasy game, so that this like mechanically dense retro styled game has like an actual fucking story attached to it, instead of just like whatever they could cobble together on 13 or 14 cocktail napkins in an afternoon. Like, just please put in the work.
Is Tokyo RPG Factory the crew that made I Am Setsuna and Lost Sphere?
Yes.
That's them. Yeah, I agree with you there. Counterpoint, I think that Octopath Traveler should very well have proved that something that is a little bit more traditional can work if it has the right combination of style and character and, place and combat mechanics. So my hope would be that the higher ups at Square see what something can do that's an original IP with no backstory, no attachment for fans can do, and think, what if we attach the biggest franchise in games, or one of the biggest franchises in games, to something like that?
I think they could do it, and I would just hope in my heart that they didn't make it a fucking mobile game. And as long as they can resist that impulse, then it'll be great.
I hope they just release it on Super Nintendo.
Sure. But what if they did a different thing that is actually feasible? I would love that shit, but they won't do it.
Okay, in that case, make it for all the major platforms, but the pre-order bonus is an empty Super Nintendo cart. No game on it, but it's got like game art on this cartridge. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I think they could do that.
They could. I don't think they will. It's probably going to be twice as big as Final Fantasy 15.
Or, alternate plan, if you want to go lean way hard into that retro nonsense, they can release a tiny console like the SNES Mini, but instead of having a bunch of games on it, it has one game, and it's this new Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 16 coming out on its own console.
Oh, fuck.
Fuck accessibility. We'll just make this thing, right?
Yeah, I'd buy it.
I would.
Day one, I would buy the fuck out of that.
It'd be $150. I would buy it. I would be in line to buy it. And it'd just be like...
That's the kind of thing where I'd buy 3. I don't know why, but I'd want one in the box, one on display, and one under my TV.
You could get it for a modern console for regular price, or pay extra, get it with the controller and shit, and the system. I would do it. I would do it tomorrow.
Quote unquote, the controller.
Yeah.
I'm in. Let's pitch it.
Yeah.
Ship it. Let's do it. Last, I think this one, this is probably enough. Metal Gear Solid 6. Rhett, I know you're a fan. Give me the intro.
I mean, to me, Metal Gear Solid 6 is like the remake of that original Metal Gear game from 87, was it? 88? It was on the Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you've got young Snake coming in there, and of course David Hayter is back playing Snake once again, but not as gruff, because throughout the first, second, and fourth game, his voice got much raspier, much tougher. So definitely he would come in, young man. Roy Campbell, you got to have Roy Campbell in there. Maybe you're making the scene sort of like the coming full circle of the MGS3 Snake Eater events, where you're like dropping in from a plane or something like that, parachuting into the jungle. You can play off the parallels between MGS3 and young, Big Boss and young Snake essentially doing the same thing. Something like that. But are you thinking, an original story, not the continuation of what's already there, something entirely different?
I mean, if we know Kojima at all, it's got to all tie back together eventually. So
that's where I thought I've mentioned this before, but that's where I thought they were going with bringing in Kiefer Sutherland to play Big Boss. Was that the next game was going to have Kiefer and David Hayter? Obviously, they couldn't have David Hayter playing Big Boss and Snake in the same game. So,
right.
Yeah, I just figured that's what the plan was, but nope. The plan was to fire that dude.
I have some notes. I like the idea. I think it's really great. I don't know that we can get David Hayter playing a less gruff version of Solid Snake.
Honestly, though, you go back to MGS1, and he is like pretty smooth in that game. There's definitely like, he sounds like Snake, don't get me wrong, but he definitely sounds like a younger version of him.
It's just, what I'm saying is that he's been voice acting for 25 years, so that maybe this might be a task beyond his abilities.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, he could do the lines and they could get in there and edit the levels. They could do something if they really needed to. I don't know if they wanted to go that route, but
your faith in the system is inspiring.
It's my faith in David, man. David could do it. I believe he could do it. Motherfucker wrote X-Men 2. He can do anything.
Like, Mark Hamill is basically my favorite voice actor alive.
Man,
he's an incredibly talented dude. However, his voice sounds like he's been swallowing travel and whiskey
razor blades
for breakfast every day. It's just it's just the perils of the trade, right? Like,
I mean, he said on a number of occasions that doing the Joker voice is basically throat cancer. Yeah. And that he should never do it again, but then he does because he likes doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's already ruined, so why not just go whole hog,
That's a fantastic voice, by the way. The Joker voice. So good. So I like this intro, Rhett, talking about, kind of a redo or a reimagining of the original Metal Gear events from the NES. Yeah, I think that's a great opening to the game, kind of to parallel the tanker from MGS2. And you complete that little section, and the big reveal, I mean, the small reveal is that it's not actually a remake of Metal Gear. It's a new story. The big twist, though, is that Solid Snake is actually Big Boss's father.
Wow.
It feels like the logical conclusion to that path. Like, it's just like, right? Where else can you really go?
Well, at the end of MGS4, Snake looks 20 to 30 years older than Big Boss does. And I know Snake, he'd been through a lot recently. A lot.
Well, he was infected with fox dye.
Oh, yeah. And that microwave, he was fucked. But, man, he looked much, much older than his supposed father. And, yeah.
Maybe you play through the majority of MGS6 as Otacon.
Wow. Nobody wants to play as Otacon. Nobody wants to play as Otacon. The dude that pisses his pants every game.
Exactly.
Isn't that what Kojima does? He's just like, man, what would the fans want the least in Metal Gear? Better give it to them.
And guess what? They're going to like it by the end.
Yeah. God damn it. By the end, I will have them. He did it, though. Honestly, Raiden, by the end of it, who wasn't liking that character?
Once he got the sword? Once he got the sword?
100%. Once he was, like, dead,
Yeah.
He had to kill him to make him cool.
Yeah, all right. I think that's a solid idea. Ship that one, too.
I would play that game.
Oh, I know you would. I've actually been thinking about going back and playing through Ground Zeroes and MGS5 again.
Yeah, really, eh?
Yeah.
MGS5. Honestly, I was a little disappointed with the amount of story that was in MGS5. A lot of it was you making what you wanted of it.
Yeah. For sure.
But like the last bit of the game, the final like few hours of it really hit hard. They nailed it. Everything basically after like Sahelanthropus was pretty emotional.
Mm-hmm. It seems pretty clear that's where they put the bulk of their effort. Like they knew they weren't going to get the chance to fill out that, that third act.
Yeah.
So they really piled it on at the end of those episodes. I think that's going to do it for this here episode of Press X the Podcast, which I forgot to mention is episode 3.3 for the week of February 3rd, 2020. What's coming up in the next couple weeks, you guys? What's up for you?
We have dreams. Actually, my birthday, first off, on Valentine's Day.
My God.
Valentine's, baby. Yep. And on my birthday, Dreams releases. Not that I'll be spending my birthday with Dreams, but it does come out on the same day. And I know that people are looking forward to it. It does look sweet.
It might be the birthday of your dreams.
Yeah. I expect a lot of broken dreams come this Valentine's Day.
Ooh. Oh my.
Harsh blow. The Fire Emblem DLC is coming out.
Ooh.
That same week. That's going to be a whole thing.
Is that the
Team
one with
White House, baby?
Yeah. The one with the fourth house. Invalidating the title of the game.
Man. It's like Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
And another one.
Buy the DLC.
Yeah.
Which will be the new subtitle. It's fine.
Did I read this correctly? That this fourth house is basically living under the monastery like mole people?
Oh my God, I hope so.
Man,
Me too.
I think they are. Yeah, they're like living under the monastery. You go down there and find them.
Please let that be.
Eating the scraps from your shitty tea parties. Oh my God.
That's right. Yeah.
They throw away so many cookies every week.
Why did they like this? All right. Well, that's a couple of good things.
Yeah.
I know you guys have a couple of trips coming up to see various things that I don't think we can talk about yet, but that'll be pretty cool.
It's true. Yes. Going to places to see some things which we'll eventually discuss at length.
Yes, I will.
Probably on the next podcast. It'll be far enough in the future for me, at least, to give some deets.
Definitely. Yeah. I will be going somewhere that I've never visited. Very excited.
Yeah. It's going to be a cool trip. Tune in a couple weeks from now when we'll hear about James's escapades, and probably not Rhett's at that point.
No.
But there will be games. We'll play some stuff. We'll do some things.
I'm going to make it a point to try and play some I've been meaning to play this Disco Elysium, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll actually get a crack at that.
Do that for sure.
Yeah.
If you want something low investment, definitely play Kentucky Route Zero. That is, I cannot recommend it enough. It's the best thing I've played in 2020.
Nice.
It's like one of the only things, but it's very, very good. And we'll be here a couple weeks from now with episode 3.4. Thank you very much for listening. We've been Paul, Rhett, and James from COG Connected. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.